Welcome to Through the Bible, episode 49, Numbers 5 through 8. In chapter 5, we see where God commands for the isolation of those who are diseased or believed to be diseased, which is great for health and for that period of time. Excellent health advice. Still is today. Wrongdoing requires confession and restitution or compensation. Something else we need to recognize. We talk about victims' rights here in America. Well, if you truly want to have victims' rights, there needs to be restitution. There shouldn't just be a payment to the state. There should be a payment to the people who were actually wronged, who were actually injured by the act. We see the jealousy ritual. Now, this seems strange to us today, as do many things that are in the Bible, but let's look at some good reasons for this. This was when a husband believed that his wife had committed sexual infidelity against him and against the union that they had, but he didn't have any proof of it. Now, we know that if he had had proof of it, this would have been a capital offense, but this is just suspected. Well, if you had left it alone, then that suspicion could have just kept going on and on. So God provided this way where it could be placed in God's hands. So whenever a husband suspected his wife of adultery, then there was this ritual that you see listed there, and then God would show them whether or not the woman was guilty. And if she was guilty, she would not be able to have children. If she was not guilty, then she would be able to have children. And we see the swelling of the womb and so forth. And the man could then move on in confidence that he had a faithful wife if everything worked out. It showed the importance of the covenant between a man and a woman. Again, something that's not always treated as sacred today as God intended it to be treated. In chapter 6, we see the Nazarite vow. Now, this was primarily for lay people who were not already consecrated into the priesthood, but they wanted to be set apart for God for at least some time period. It usually was a limited amount of time. We do see that Samson, for example, was a Nazarite from birth, and John the Baptist as well. But there's no alcohol, there's no grapes, there's no raisins. They weren't allowed to cut their hair. They had to avoid dead bodies. So these things showed that they were set apart for God for this time, kind of like we do fasting today, only it was a very specific vow of dedication and commitment unto God. We see the priestly blessing is ordered by God through Moses, through Aaron. So when Aaron speaks to the people, God gave him a prayer that he would pray over them, or a blessing that he would pray over them, and then God would bless them because of the prayer that came through Moses, through Aaron, to the people. So from God, through Moses, through Aaron, and then to the people. And it went like this: may the Lord bless you and protect you or keep you. May the Lord make his face shine on you. This had to do with his countenance. It's like when daddy smiles at you or when mommy smiles at you, they're happy with you, they're pleased with you. So may God's face show that pleasure for you. And may he be gracious to you. And may the Lord look with favor on you. So all of these things are a part of the priestly blessing. And remember that these people had just really sinned several times before God gives them this blessing. But his ultimate desire was to bless his people, even though they had sinned against him with idols and with grumbling and complaining and doubting and lack of faith and all of those things. God wanted to bless his people. If that was true in the Old Testament when he was supposedly a God of wrath, I don't subscribe to that contrast of God. I believe he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. But even if you bought into that, you got to keep in mind this was an act of mercy and grace of God in the Old Testament that's very powerful. He said, in this way they will pronounce my name over the Israelites. This is what God is saying. In this way, they, meaning Moses and Aaron and the descendants that would come and do it later, I will bless them. I will pronounce my name over them. They will be called by my name, and I will bless them. We see where in chapter 7 they finish setting up the tabernacle. It's anointed, it's consecrated. The leaders make offerings to God. We see Moses enters the tent of meeting, and he heard the voice from above. He hears from God, which we believe came from the mercy seat, which is on the top of the Ark of the Covenant. And God is there. God is in their presence. And then in chapter 8, the Levites were consecrated for the work of the tabernacle. And again, as we pointed out last time, for the ages, we had seen 30 to 50, but now we actually see that 25 begins the start of service, so 25 to 50, and then after that age they can assist in the tabernacle but are not a part of the primary workforce. And that takes us through Numbers chapter 8. Thank you for being with us on Through the Bible. We'll see you next time. God bless.